Thanks very much for tuning in to Professional Services Growth Live. This is a live Q&A where we discuss all things marketing and business development and professional services. We've seen in the last few years a huge explosion in the activity that firms are taking on online and particularly on social media, and that's exploded in the last couple of months with everyone being from home. So today we're talking about how firms can make the most of that explosion and how they can drill deep down into the details of the strategy and tactics that are working on social media today. We're really, really lucky to have Stephanie Marone joining us. Stephanie is a social media strategist and advisor to some of the world's leading firms in the professional services space. She's an expert on brand building and the power of social, so we're so glad that she could join us here today. Stephanie, thanks so much for coming on.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Yeah, wonderful. And we're also really lucky to have my good friend and colleague from Passle here, James Barclay, whose job every day sees them breaking down the barriers between professionals and their clients in terms of expertise. So that often involves getting people more active on social media and sharing the insights and the knowledge that they have with the market. So James, thank you very much for joining us as well.
No problem. Great to see you. Great to see you, Stephanie. Thanks for joining from New York.
Yeah, we're all like people love fast. Like we're all big fans of each other. We all share each other's content. And like just to speak of the power of social, like we all met, like we've seen each other at LMA conferences and various events, but we know each other through social, right? I mean, you live in the UK, I live in New York. It's the power of social, right?
Yep.
LinkedIn.
And I know all about Lucy the dog.
So, yes. Oh, guys, I will tell you. So this is my puppy,
Lucy.
Lucy.
Get this out of the way.
She sits on my lap, and she's very demanding. She's 3 months old, and you can follow her on Instagram, Lucy French Bulldog NYC. I'm trying to become a stage mom and have her become famous so that I can just manage her career.
That's not what we're talking about today. Better get us back on track.
No, but I will do a separate session if anyone's interested. Message me.
How to get your puppy world famous.
So that we'll keep the side hustle live stream for another time, but I reckon that you're onto a winner there, Stephanie, for sure. So we're talking social today. That conversation often on webinars like this gets very, very abstract. And what we're keen to do today is to drill really down into the nuts and bolts and talk to the strategic and the tactical points that you can take away and make use of in your firm. So with that in mind, we're going to start with a really nuts and bolts question. I'll throw this to Stephanie first. Stephanie, in your very well-educated opinion in this area, what should marketeers and business development people in professional services be doing every day, every week, and every month for their firm on social?
Yeah. So, okay. And I just want to say, like, I've only been a consultant for a little bit less than a year. Like I was in-house, like in your shoes, like, for almost 20 years. I know it seems hard to believe. There was a little T-school work done here. I was at Sullivan and Cromwell, Paul Weiss, Mayor Brown, Morrison and Forrester, and Proskauer, and then a mid-sized firm in New York. So I know what this is like. I mean, I worked before we even had social media. And then when it was starting to come about, I learned everything I possibly could because I knew that it would be a very powerful channel for those firms that were willing to dip their toes and take a risk using it. And I knew that lawyers would benefit in terms of building their brand and their business if they if they used it. And I still see big firms and small firms not utilizing it effectively. Okay. So as marketers, what could you do? Number one, use it every day, right? So encourage the lawyers to use it and use it in a way that is smart to engage with their clients, to engage with prospects, and to interact in a meaningful way, right? So I talk about there's three building blocks of, and I would say, listen, you got to go where your clients are. There are so many firms that say, oh, we should have Twitter, we should have Instagram, maybe have Snapchat. No. And TikTok, please don't. Go where your clients are only, right? You have to have really strong content for your social media accounts, but So you need really good content. You need a really good visual content strategy. You also need to have your lawyers know how to use social, because if they don't know how to use social, you're not going to tap into their powerful social media networks, right? And then you have to have really smart ideas about the content that you're posting. So it's not enough to post like, we've won, 87 chambers rankings, or blah, 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 and we just closed this multi-billion-dollar deal. That's great, but that's so you focused. So it's got to be also client focused. So I would say find ways to write about things in a show versus tell way. Capture company culture. So write about things you're doing to serve the greater good of the world. Right now, you should be volunteering. You should be giving back to the world. Intersperse those with the posts about your firm. And capture highlights about your people as well. I talk about a lot about earned and owned media. Your social media success depends on this. So earned media is publicizing awards and mentions in the New York Times and other press, right? Owned media is the media you create about yourself, which I think is just as powerful. Promoting client alerts, blog posts. You can promote lawyers. You can promote practice areas. Here's a look at our international arbitration practice. And those should be worked in. If you don't have an editorial calendar, you need to have one right now, and you need to work through that from now until the end of the year, and then looking toward first quarter. And we've got to think about the second wave of COVID as part of your strategy. So thinking about worst case scenario and business as usual is simply not an option, but how are you going to pivot your content marketing if and when this comes back, and what are you going to say? So I would say all of those things are really important, but also getting your lawyers to understand the importance of content and social. When I say content, obviously you use social as a conduit for pushing out content. You have to have things to say. So making your lawyers understand the importance of why they're using social. We are not going to be in-person networking anytime soon. Social media is going to continue to be the primary vehicle for branding and networking. So if the lawyers are not into it, they need to be. I find showing them what other firms are doing in their space is very powerful. So do that. And all of these things will help you. I mean, so one of the things I do with new clients is I show them all of the things that their competitors are doing and all of the things that the firm is doing right and wrong without mentioning names. So that's something you can also do. I give them analytics and all those things. So that's a long-winded way. I could talk about this for hours, but I know we don't have hours. James, what do you think?
No, I think you're spot on.
I didn't even talk about a hashtag strategy, a visual strategy. I mean, there's so many things.
I think the key thing, and you said it there, is you got to take charge if you're in marketing. Yeah. We interact with a lot of heads of marketing, marketing executives right the way through, and particularly now with COVID disrupting everything, you've got good news and bad news. The bad news is that COVID's disrupted everything, and the good news is COVID's disrupted everything. So you can actually take this as an opportunity to redesign how things are done. We often heard previously, we don't do that here because we're such and such. And it's like, well, actually, what we're seeing now is that the lawyers, the experts, the consultants are turning to marketeers and going, oh, you've been talking about that social, you've been talking about that internet thing for the last 20 years. I really need to know about that now. You've been telling me to do LinkedIn. I actually get that now, because I can't rely on my breakfast meetings and my posh lunches and my lovely offices and the tennis. So there's an opportunity here, is what I'm saying, for marketeers. There's an opportunity to take charge. And I think that's crucial. As far as then what you do, it's really about empowerment and enablement, I think. There's only so much you can do centrally. And obviously, for those of you who know us, our thing is all about empowering and enabling your experts to be able to do their thing. And crucial to that is authenticity on the one hand, i.e. making sure they're themselves. And also that you provide them with the tools, the ability, and the feedback to do it. So to your point, Stephanie, like teaching them the basics, but also joining up the basics. So and Sam always talks to us, and I'll let Sam kind of carry on with this, but you always talk to us, Sam, about joining the dots.
Yeah, thanks for that. It's like the hospital pass out of the blue.
Yeah, you like that. Joining the dots.
I would say that if you've executed the basics, if people understand that they need to have a LinkedIn profile, they need to have a standing point for their content, so what they're talking about, how they're talking about it, they need to understand their tone of voice. But I would say that the point there is connecting the dots between the revenue that they're expecting to generate. So if they're talking to particular clients, if they've got a section of work that they're trying to get more of and win more of. So you want to connect to the dots between the activity that they're going to be doing on that LinkedIn or whatever their social platform is with their clients are, and that revenue. So demonstrate to them, feedback to them, the people from that key target space that they're interacting with.
And on a really basic one, and then kind of come back to the question of what do you do every day, every week, every month. I would build in, as well as that content plan, build that plan around what they're already doing. So what we've discovered is the more you talk about social and marketing and all that stuff separately to them, they think it's extra. Whereas if you say, hey, what are you trying to achieve this month? And then you bring in all the tools that you have, all the expertise you have, and you basically use those to achieve their goals. I know that sounds obvious, but it's surprising how we kind of work in silos. Then they're much more engaged. And that all comes back to feedback as well. And one of the things that we're seeing really successfully with some of our clients is they're starting to link up the feedback they're seeing. So they link it, the marketeers are working on a one-to-one basis quite often and say, hey, look, this is what you created, that piece of content, and that was fantastic. But did you see, this is the impact on LinkedIn. This is who interacted. This is the impact that we had as a company on Twitter. This is the impact that had on Google Analytics. This is the impact that had on something like Lexology as well. And you bring all those things together and add real value to the lawyer who starts going, now I get what all those things are doing. They're driving positive business outcomes for me. I'll do that again. Mm-hmm. And of course, then what you do is you celebrate that. So everyone else starts saying, I get it. And you do, my experience in professional services is you have to get rid of all the hurdles, like any hurdle, because the experts, the lawyers, the consultants are brilliant at what they do. But they can fall over pretty easily when it comes to marketing and sales. And so we need to help them through that really, in a very organized fashion, I suppose.
Yeah,
sure.
One of the other things I would just say is like one of the keys to my early success was internally was getting the lawyers to trust me. And one of the ways I did that was doing internal training. And I broke it up. Sometimes I did partners. Sometimes I did especially do it for associates, at the up and coming rising stars. But to the extent that you as a marketer can offer training internally, you will become a superstar. Do it by practice area, do it by office, however you want to do it, depending on how big or small your firm is. Show them statistics, show them, again, like I said, competitors and firms doing it right, doing it wrong, and you will be seen as an internal expert. And they will come to you and then offer one-on-one sessions. What I find with so many lawyers is that they want to do this. They want to share content. They want to help the firm's visibility. They want to build their own brands. And they want to help their own lead generation and business development strategies using LinkedIn and using other social channels, but they don't know how to do it. So even like we can't go desk side, but I actually am having so much luck with Zoom, just simply having them share their screens and me walking through, even creating a LinkedIn profile with them, bettering their LinkedIn profile, and then showing them how to like, comment, and share. Sometimes they don't even know how to find the firm's LinkedIn page. It seems so basic to us as marketers, but it's not to them. So showing them is something you could be invaluable at doing, and then they really will get the hang of it. But sometimes I know I do better with if you show me how to do something. So if you can offer that resource to them, and then training other people within the marketing department, particularly the business development people. I say everybody in the marketing department, whether, whatever your title is, CRM, communications, PR, you're all business development people at the end of the day. You're all revenue generators. So to the extent you can help them do that, do it. And explain, why Instagram would be good or bad for them. Twitter, benefits, etc. Facebook, all those things.
Absolutely. And I think what you touched on there is crucial, is the link between the BD and the marketing.
Yeah.
So we, one of the questions, I'm not complicated when it comes to business. We just try and make more money than we spend, and we try and grow. And there's a lot to be said for really simply going back to lawyers who are now running business, who are essentially running businesses or consultants, and saying, okay, where did 80% of your billable hours come from last year? What were those? What were those companies? And what were those people? Let's go find those, and it's often 15, 20 people. Let's go find them on LinkedIn. Let's make sure you're connected with them. Let's make sure we're creating content that's relevant to them. Because if we can get those 15 people and we can get you front of mind, regularly front of mind in their minds, you're probably going to up their spend by 10% this year.
Mm-hmm.
You up their spend 10% this year, we're on a winner, right? That's a good start. And then you can build a wish list. So actually making it very personal as well, and really, really coming in with the data. And that's where I think the BD and the marketing come hand in hand. The whole thing, it used to be a bit of a structure where you had marketing and then BD, and then the whole thing's turned into spaghetti, and I suppose social is the source, if that's the right analogy.
Yeah.
Anyway, so you've got, but definitely get the BD and the marketing working together to offer the lawyer something measurable, where they go, that's how I'm going to make 10% growth, or that's how I'm going to win that pitch, or that's how I'm going to get that new client.
Thanks, guys. That's brilliant. So we've just spent some time going through, I guess, at a high level, what you should be doing in a firm. We're going to drill down into some specifics now. We've got an agenda that we're covering as part of the session today, but also feel free, if you've got questions or if you have very specific things that you're battling with in your firm at the moment, feel free to put them into the chat, because it's not every day that you get to ask Stephanie Marone what her opinion is on your problem that you're facing. So we're very lucky.
You can ask me relationship problems. You can ask me anything. Also, can you guys hear my dog snoring?
No, that's a good thing.
Okay.
So our next
I can, and it's very loud.
Our next question that we've got in here is, what strategies are you seeing right now? What's working in this social space? I've got a couple of takes on this, but I'll throw that to James, and then Stephanie. So James first, what are you excited about now in terms of the strategies that people are deploying on social?
Sure. I think, obviously the biggest thing that's happened over the last 5 months is just this huge acceleration of digital transformation. And what we're seeing is that the fee, I divide kind of professional service firms into two. I divide them into fee earners and fee enablers. And from an outside perspective, one side's absolutely stuffed without the other. But what this acceleration of the digital transformation means is that the fee enablers have really got an opportunity here. And the fee earners are reaching out and saying, what can we do? So this is it's good news. And I think what's interesting there is it's not only obviously your own opportunity in the digital space to make a bigger bang, but also your clients are now also going through that experience. So you can, they're reaching out to you in that space. So you've got this really big opportunity to outperform your competitors, essentially, if you get it right. And so strategy wise, digital, number one. The other thing that I'm seeing right now and over the last few months, I'm seeing that when you empower, as I was talking about, when you empower your attorneys and your consultants, you also drive meritocracy. The shift from us all being face to face, the shift from lunches and dinners and tennis and people out playing golf to digital, there's actually an opportunity for meritocracy to take over a little bit here. And we talked to quite a few clients around how digital can positively drive diversity and inclusion. And that's kind of exciting, I think, right now. That actually, and I had an associate talk to me, and I won't say which firm, but she said, this is great because I can create a piece of content and it's my name, but my words at the time I created it. It's not 3 weeks later discovering my words underneath 4 middle-aged white guys' names. And I'm hidden when I did all the work. So I'm kind of excited about that right now. I see the disruption as an opportunity. And I see it also as an opportunity for people who don't necessarily always get the strongest voice physically in a meeting room to have that digitally.
Fantastic. I really love that idea that your ideas now become the thing that wins you the work and wins you the share of voice, rather than who you know or how good you are at golf or whether you know the best restaurant in town. I really like that. Stephanie, have you got a take on that or on the tactics or strategies in the space that you're getting really excited about, you see people doing well?
Yeah. So, I mean, listen, bigger doesn't necessarily mean better. Like, there are firms, like the behemoth firms, that have 21,000 followers, right? Like, they have huge social teams. They're still doing great jobs. I also do not believe that the firms that are in the top 10 of profits per partner are doing the best jobs when it comes to social, right? I worked at a firm that is in the top 5 when it comes to profits, and I look at their posts, and I'm like, oh my God, they have no idea what they're doing, and they don't use hashtags. The hashtags they use aren't the right ones. You must have a very smart and well-researched hashtag strategy. Their images are the wrong size. They don't have branding on their images. Everything's wrong. They're not using bit.ly links. You can actually customize your links now to have your firm name in the shortened links, which is great. And everybody should be doing that. It costs a little bit of money to do that. And they do what I call one and done, which is what so many firms do. They take all this time to create great content. They post it one time to social. That's it. Every single piece of content. When I say content, I'm talking about thought leadership content, a white paper, a client alert that's meaty, a blog post, can be repurposed into at least 3 pieces, if not 7 pieces of content, right? There's a pull quote, there's a statistic, there's something in there that's a nugget, and if you have an editorial calendar, which is what I'm saying you can get a lot more bang for your buck, right? I'm shocked at how many of these global firms, and then, I work with mostly US firms, these big US firms with 700 plus lawyers create content once and then they're done with it. I have a lot of clients who are mid-sized firms, and I'm teaching them they have less content, but they're smarter with their content, okay? So that's number one. So I'm seeing the really smart firms are being more adept at it. So another thing you can do is you have a client alert or a blog post. You can turn that into a short video segment, and vice versa. A podcast, you should be, if you're not doing these things, you should be. And you can turn a webcast into a client alert, vice versa. Also, I've been doing this cool thing with screen mirroring. So it's on your phone. You basically can scroll through a client alert. I don't know if you guys know, I have an iPhone. And basically you just screen mirror, I'll show you guys the tool. So not screen mirror, sorry. It's this tool. It's on my phone. But anyway, basically it scrolls down on your phone and you get to scroll through an alert, basically. So it just gives more dimension to what you're doing. So I see firms doing things I don't see firms doing it. I'm doing it for my clients. So my clients are doing that. And then packaging things, just a little bit different, making campaigns out of content. You can take an alert and do a word cloud. There's tools, guys, apps that create those sorts of things for you. So I'd like to see more of that, and I am. If you're not a graphic designer and you don't have access to graphic design tools, you can use my favorite tool, which is canva.com. You can upload all of your branding, your colors, your logos, everything, your fonts. And I use that. I'm not a graphic designer, and it's just a really great tool. So I would venture to say, do not post anything to social without an image, a custom image. I reuse all headshots, practice area photos, etc. And you should be delving into video, podcasts, and all of those things right now. So I don't know, anything you guys want to add to that? And I'll tell you the name of the tool that I was talking about.
The only other thing I was going to do was really just bring up, Sam, and hopefully you can talk a bit more about this, but this idea that we're doing with the
screen recording. Sorry.
What is it?
Screen recording. And then you can scroll down and actually have some movement to your post, so like you can see the whole alert on your phone.
Cool. And I think the things there is that using one piece of content and then just taking every bit of juice out of it, just squeezing it. And one of the things that I know you've been doing, Sam, and I'd like maybe if you wouldn't mind talking about it, but grabbing one piece of content and then using it with paid as well as that paid to organic that you were doing. I think there's opportunities there also for professional service firms.
Yeah, I love that. I'll come to the paid and organic. I'll just build on Stephanie, your plug for Canva. Love that plug for Canva. Definitely much better engagement, much better interaction if you've got a strong image, and it needs to have your brand in there. Ultimately, if you're not putting your brand codes on the thing that you're doing, you're building the brand of an individual, but that's not the firm. That's just one person. So you need to bring that back to the firm. I would say if you haven't tried it, and I can hear my designer groaning from 50 miles away. Combination of a website called Unsplash, which
for fantastic available photos. Yeah,
amazing free stock imagery that's quality. If you look, you see those images, we're like, man, that's a great image. That would be perfect for my shipping campaign or whatever. So Unsplash, 1. 2, PowerPoint. In PowerPoint,
what was that called?
PowerPoint, Microsoft PowerPoint.
Oh, PowerPoint.
Back to basics.
Back to basics, and I can hear our designer getting in her car to come around here to nix me right now. But PowerPoint, you can set the dimensions that you want your image to have. You can set all of your brand assets in there to just drag and drop into place. You can add filters. You can do all the stuff that you can do on other services, and you've got it already on your desktop. Perfect. You can share it around your team with OneDrive. If you don't have Microsoft Suite, you can use Google Slides to do the same thing. We do almost all of our social imagery that way, and it's quick, fast, and it doesn't cost us a dime.
One thing I want to mention also about Canva, like it resizes for you, like for all the social channels. Like for Instagram, you have to play around with it. It's like, so one size doesn't fit all for all the social channels, and you must know that, right? The Twitter size image on Canva, you can use on Facebook, you can use it on Twitter and on LinkedIn, but you have to resize it for Instagram because Instagram is a square. You have to play around with it a little bit, but it makes your life so easy. So really take advantage of that. And that, can I just say one other thing? Like, please, like when you're doing COVID content, don't use that cell structure with the spikes on it. Like it's so, thank you, James. Like it's so overdone. Like when March hit and like March and April, I kept seeing like big firms like Sullivan and Cromwell, Morrison and Forrester. I saw Linklater. I saw like a bunch of firms like using that image to sell, and some people were using it in black and red. And I was like, whoa, Baker McKenzie. Like, I was like, gosh, guys, like it was on the news. It was like, it just said to me like death and like, law firms are arbiters of like, calm, and we're going to help you get through this, right? We're past that. We got to find other images that help clients weather the storm. So I don't know if anyone else has a very visceral negative reaction like I do, but I don't like that image. Definitely overplayed at the very least. For sure. Definitely agree. Okay. So sorry, Sam, please go ahead. Oh, perfect. So we're chopping through this agenda here. If you have your questions about what you're up to, put them in the chat. We'd love to hear them and love to go through them. Our next question here, actually, I might come back to James. You were talking about a blended strategy between paid and organic social. So Stephanie spoke earlier on about the concept of earned and owned media, and this idea that you kind of earn your share of voice by doing great content, and then you own the content that you produce about yourself. I have always really liked the idea that you have an organic reach that you build up over time that costs you nothing to maintain, doesn't cost you anything to do. But you need to reach new people, and organic's not often the quickest way to do that. So at Passle, one of the things that we do is we try and blend the two. So we run
paid ads through LinkedIn to exactly the target demographic, the ideal customer persona that we want to be targeting. And then we push those people towards our organic social. So we don't advertise too much the Passle product. What we're trying to do is advertise the great content that we're putting out there. So things like this live stream, we'll cut this up into a million tiny little bits, and that'll be part of our advertising strategy. That's actually the most engagement, or the highest engagement per view we get is from videos like this. So we'll break that up, we'll use that to advertise, and then we'll push people into our organic space where it doesn't cost us to communicate with them. So we acquire the customers once, it costs us a little bit of money, and then we communicate with them a lot for free. And so that cost of acquisition is spread over that whole lifetime of communication. And because of the way people buy, people don't buy your service because of your marketing. People buy your service or your product because they need it. So if you're advertising today, it doesn't mean that you're going to get that person as a client today. You may need to communicate with them for 6, 12, 24 months, years and years before they have an opportunity to buy from you. So building your organic channel and keeping that up to date, keeping that fizzing with content, with stuff from your fee earners, with stuff from your firm. I love that as a strategy, and I'm so excited about it.
Yeah, and I think what's neat there is linking it with the positive business outcomes. So linking the marketing with the BD, with the attorney, or in our case with us. So one of the things that you're doing is you're looking at where your strong opportunities are with law firms. It might be where your pitches are. It might be where your existing clients have a buying opportunity. It's then using that content and that focused marketing on the people who sit around, and through social you can work out who sits around the person you're talking to. So you've got a pitch to Bob, but Bob actually has 8 people surrounding him. You can make sure that the marketing you're doing is hitting those 8 people. And that means that when Bob goes and says, hey, I just had this great pitch, then those people go, yeah, I know all about them. So you can start being quite focused, which is something I'm getting really excited about. And I think that the more focused you can be, the better. And we just got asked here on the chat, how can you encourage your associates to get involved with marketing? You can show the link between money that they're earning and the opportunities they've got for promotion and the marketing you're doing. It's simple as that. They need to build business so they become partner, right? That's all they care about. I mean, that's not all they care about, but it's a big thing they care about. So work out how to help them make partner, and sit there with them and say, okay, what are we going to do this week, this quarter, this year to help you get partner? What are you going to do online to achieve that? You've got to put some effort in here. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you feedback. I'm going to keep giving you feedback and show you what things are working. We're going to work on the stuff that's working. And I think that's it.
Stephanie, I've just seen you drop a link into the chat. Do you want to chat about that? So for those of you that can't see this question, this comes from Anastasia. Thanks so much for getting involved in the chat there. So Anastasia asks, how can you encourage your associates to be involved with marketing? So we've just heard James's answer to that. Stephanie, do you want to discuss that link?
Yeah, I just put an article that I wrote in there. It's free. It's on JD Supra. It's an article actually about for junior partners and senior associates, but it's really for anyone. I mean, listen, I would say it's a number of things. It's never too soon or late to start building your brand and business, but the other thing I would tell you is that a lot of law firm associates don't want necessarily to make partner, or they don't want to stay at their firm, right? They're going to go off maybe and go become a business person, go maybe start their own firm, go in-house, whatever it may be, particularly as the millennials continue to take over the world, right? They're not necessarily going to stay at their firms their whole careers. So you have a new generation of folks who want different things out of their careers. Professional development is very important to them. It's very important to provide them with the tools to succeed early on. And I also think that their classmates from law school, their classmates, the people with whom they were in the trenches in their first, second years of law school are going to be tomorrow's business people and leaders earlier than I'm X generation, earlier than the X and the boomers, because they're going off doing things much earlier, right? So LinkedIn, very important, right? Networking, getting involved in, committees, organizations, board positions, organizations they care about, leadership positions, all of those things and designed to enhance their brand, important. Raising their hands to get involved with different lawyers. I don't necessarily know that you need to be at a huge firm where you're a cog in the wheel of a class of 70 people. I always tell junior lawyers to go to maybe smaller firms where they're going to get more experience and have more client interaction at an earlier point in their career. So there's a lot of different things I think you can do, but I would make sure, another thing is volunteer to write. Lots of opportunities to write for blogs in your different practice areas. Even if you already have a very full plate, co-author something with one of the lawyers. Raise your hand for those sorts of opportunities, because that will help your credentialing, right? You will get better Google results at an early point in your career. If there's an opportunity also to speak on a CLE panel, do it. Do those things early on, even when you don't think you have the time, make the time. And, so that would be my advice to you guys, is just, and to give that advice to the lawyers, to just find ways to build their brands, make time for marketing, and to work it into their daily lives. Like I used to tell lawyers to schedule time in their calendar for marketing, and they have to stick to it, just like they were going to, write a brief or whatever it was. And I think it's really important.
So I'm gonna just build on what you've both said there. I guess fantastic, Stephanie. I love that idea of getting time in the calendar to do marketing. If maybe I could come back to how you actually get them to do that. Anastasia, I think if you're like me and you sit in a marketing team, it's very difficult to get someone that does not directly report to you in a different business unit to do anything. And that's doubly true in professional services, where you're a marketer trying to encourage fee earners who, in their mind, they've always got something better to do. I would say that your most powerful weapon as a marketer in that case is the fact that you're actually great at marketing. So the idea there is that you've got access to fantastic data showing what the trailblazers are doing in your firm. If there's people in your firm that are generating great content, what's the result of that content? If they're generating really good engagement with particular firms, you've got that data, you understand that big picture. So then the question becomes, how do you show that to the rest of the firm as an example and kind of lead through the feedback, positive encouragement and feedback? Mm-hmm. The only other point that I would add to that is figure out if you're the best person to deliver that message. Because it might be that you have a senior person within the law firm, either a partner, maybe a sector head, maybe someone who's in charge of governing those trainees. Work out who's the best person to deliver that message. Give them the message and say, send this out to all the trainees and say, this is what they're doing. So if you've got some trainees who are already doing something really great, if the partner who's in charge of them says, fantastic achievement by this person and this person, look at this engagement that they're having, this is exactly what we want to be doing as a firm, I guarantee you'll see more of that same behavior from those people and from their colleagues. So I think that's probably your strongest weapon as a marketer is feedback and data and the big picture view.
That's right. And I think with associates, it's very much about that getting a leader on board with you and then using your skills as a marketeer to market internally. That's really absolutely crucial. The positive feedback is the thing. And the other thing is chase your winners. I've done it before. We see it all the time, which is you try desperately to get that one person who's awkward to start doing something they don't want to do. Just stop and chase your winners. The people who are doing well, work with them. Don't chase the people who aren't doing anything, right? Don't try and win everybody. You're not going to, but get the people who are doing something and get them to turbocharge it.
Definitely.
It's also really important to find internal champions, right? Like find that partner or the group of partners who will give you those opportunities and believe in you. I always find it could be a mentor, it could be, just someone who will give you opportunities to shine, that's incredibly important.
Yeah,
definitely.
And we do a lot of work with kind of future leaders. And again, I know it's sort of repeating what I said before, but building it into existing programs. So it's, you don't start with what are you doing on social, you start with what are you trying to achieve this year? What are you trying to achieve this week? What are you trying to achieve this month? And then build in what you can do there to help them and enable and empower them.
Sure. No, I love that. We're running quite close. I think we've got time to go to past, but we've got a couple more questions. I might just ask one more question and then go into the summary in case we get anything else in the chat. But thank you, Anastasia, for that question, because I think that's a problem that lots and lots of people have. Certainly everyone that we talk to at Passle will ask us that question at some point in the process. And and somehow James and his team managed to get people to do the social thing. So we're glad to have this feedback on that. All right, we're going to jump now to reporting. We've talked quite a lot through this about delivering data and justifying what you're doing and demonstrating the value. It's so important to do. Stephanie, what do you encourage people to focus on in terms of metrics or reporting? When people are walking into a board meeting, what kind of thing do you want them to be armed with?
Yeah, I mean, this is a tough one because, people will say to me like all the time when they're hiring me or like looking back like 6 months, like what is success going to be? Like show me ROI, which I hate, right? Like I'd love to say, well, I brought you a $1 million client as a direct result from something I did, which is difficult a lot of times to do. Now, obviously there are metrics, there's Google Analytics, there are Hootsuite Analytics, there are millions of analytics, LinkedIn Analytics, a lot of analytics. Now, those are great. You can look at those. Email campaigns, like we didn't talk about email, and I think it's very important to say this. Email to me is the most effective way to reach your clients and prospects, okay? It's the tried and true, sometimes the basic stuff that will be the most effective marketing, right? Because I can't promise you that everything you do on social media will go to every one of your clients and prospects, simply because the algorithms of social are such that it doesn't enable you to do that. There's no way to make sure every LinkedIn connection gets to see every LinkedIn post, whether it's on the company side or whether I posted it myself, okay? But you email something to someone, there's a very high likelihood that they will see it if your lists are updated and clean and that you use a sophisticated email marketing program, okay? So I love the analytics that I get each time I do a client alert or blog post for my clients, and I'm able to see what resonated, open rates, click-throughs. I can look at to see, what topics, subject lines, etc., right? I can also encourage lawyers to send articles individually with a note saying, Jim, this issue likely will affect your company. You should read it, etc., right? There's so many things I can do. So I think for you to be successful, regardless of at what size firm you are, you need to have a combination of a strong social strategy and a strong content marketing / email marketing strategy, okay? So in conjunction, those analytics are very powerful. Now, you also need a content syndicator, right? So whether you have all 4 of them, the Mondac, the JD Supra, Lexology, and the National Law Review, great. It's a matter of there's overlap between them. Do you need all 4? Probably not. The top 3 probably good, depending on the size of your firm. You should do something with those analytics too, right? See who you're reaching. So many firms push out content, again, in a vacuum, and they don't actually look at who it's reaching. That's not a smart content strategy. This is a long-term investment. If you're spending the money to have these different tools, you have to see how it's doing, right? So people tell me I don't have the time to analyze my content. You should make the time. It should be part of the communications and the business development team's joint efforts to say, whether it's industry related or BD focused, every time we do an M&A alert, we're going to look at how this did, and we're going to see if we find trends, et cetera. And that information has to get back to the lawyers so that they know what's doing well and what isn't. I can't tell you, I worked at Proskauer. That information was not making its way back to the lawyers, and I was shocked, and we changed that when I was there. The lawyers need to be educated so that they're not telling you, listen, we wrote this alert on X topic, please post it. Then you're basically a secretary posting things for them. You need to be involved in the strategy. So Sam, I think you need to look at the data and then work with the BD teams, and then work with the lawyers to develop the next phase of your content and social strategy, okay? Sometimes they're home runs. You can say, and by the way, in addition to your client alerts and your blog posts that go by email, every time you publish an article in like Law 360 or, a trade publication, you should do an email blast saying that lawyer wrote this article and here's an excerpt and a PDF link that's on your website that you paid for the reprints. Please don't be cheap, buy the reprints. Don't ever send an email out with a subscription required and you don't make it easy for them to get access to it, because people get annoyed when you do that. Every one of those is a touch point, right? You want multiple touch points with thought leadership content that shows your expertise and your ability to be helpful and stay top of mind. And it's never been more important to do that. That is the key to success. And that is how you track the success in my book. And you usually can tell sometimes if it wound up leading to rekindling a relationship, a new matter, etc. But all of these things together will help you, track ROI. I hope that helps. But I think it's not just simply data.
No, it's also that you make a plan and you execute it. So we often talk about creating content very specifically for one or two targets. So don't do don't always do the scattergun. Think about exactly who it is. And of course, and I agree with you entirely on email.
I know I saw you nodding, so I was like, James agrees.
And then exactly, then send it. We use I saw this and thought of you, but it works. We just know it works. It works.
Yeah.
It works to move a relationship, and it works because of reciprocity, because you're not asking them for something. You're not shouting about how wonderful you are. You're solving their problem. And by that, you're strengthening the relationship. And you can measure it because you get an email back saying, hey, let's catch up. And we see that 100%. All the time.
I've seen that lead to new business. Either that is the issue on their minds, or they forward it to someone else saying, I'm going to forward this email to my colleague, and then they get in touch, or they say, oh my God, I was thinking about you. It keeps you top of mind. It's so easy to be forgotten right now, particularly since you can't take someone to play golf and have dinner or whatever it is. This is you don't want the emails that say, hey, Jim, just checking in.
No.
You want
you need something stronger.
A reason to be in touch that's of value.
I think we're over time, aren't we, Sam? You're going to wrap us up, I think.
We are going to wrap up. I'm going to wrap up very quickly with 1 minute from each of you on your one piece of advice. So for everyone on the call, they're probably going to forget almost all the stuff we've said today, which is fine because there's a YouTube video that'll come out of this exact call with all of Stephanie's wonderful knowledge and James's wonderful knowledge. So look out for that. We'll also cut this up into small pieces for LinkedIn, so you'll see it all over our LinkedIn. One piece of advice, Stephanie, from you first, and then I'll throw to James, for firms today looking to do better with their social media strategy. What's your one piece of advice to those marketers and BD people?
Develop a hashtag strategy. A lot of firms are not using hashtags, and if they are, they're not using hashtags based on research. So there is no special tool that will give you the right hashtags. The way to do it is to go in the search bar and to actually type in different words and terms, and to look then through that. You can go into a rabbit hole, but if you just change up the terms a little bit, you'll see the number of followers change quite a bit. When you do this and add hashtags, it opens up your content to be found by second, third degree connections in a whole new world. It will exponentially impact in a positive way your content. You don't want to just make up your own hashtags or use hashtags based on the content. You want to actually do research. And hashtags with too many followers are not good. And hashtags with too few followers are not good either. So really do your research.
So figure out where the customer is within the channel, not just we need to be on Twitter or LinkedIn or Instagram, whatever it is. Figure out.
I mean, that, obviously that would be my other, I would say, and I'm talking about, this is the LinkedIn hashtag strategy. And they used to say, you needed to have 3 to 5 hashtags. Actually, you can go higher. Now you can go 5 to 10. The algorithm changes every month or so. And only go where your clients and prospects are. I mean, I feel like that goes without saying, but don't start an Instagram if your clients aren't there. Don't be on Twitter if they're not there. For most law firms, really all you need is LinkedIn, probably Twitter, maybe Facebook. If you are a big behemoth firm, maybe Instagram as well. I would say Facebook and Instagram you're going to use more for recruiting and quality of life kinds of things and internal stuff. You don't want to post the same message to each platform. Every single platform is unique, and you must adjust the message for the medium as well as the image.
Love that. Love that advice. James, very quickly, your
Very quick for me, I would just say, go to your fee earners and say to them, this pandemic is here forever. Hopefully it won't be, right? But say this pandemic is positive message, James. This pandemic is here forever. You just parachuted into your job and you need to communicate with people. What are you going to do? Because if they're kicking the can right now and they're saying, I'm waiting for Christmas, I'm waiting for the spring, I'm waiting for the summer, I'm waiting till I can get back to conferences, I'm waiting to tell them to stop waiting and start doing, because this is a harsh environment we're walking into, and it's not a time to be kicking the can. It's also not the time to be cutting back or going quiet on marketing and your voice. This is the time to have your voice out there, because if you're not out there shaping the conversation, someone else is.
I couldn't agree with you more on that. I saw people pulling back on marketing. If you pull back on marketing and you're not doing content, thought leadership, social, you will be forgotten. You need those consistent touch points. Could not agree with you more.
Brilliant. Well, thanks so much for joining us, Stephanie. We're so glad to have you. It was brilliant to hear from you.
Thank you guys
thank
so much.
Thank you very much. Lovely to see you.
Of your work.
And thanks everyone for attending. Sorry we went over a bit.
And James as well, thanks very much. So everyone on the call, thank you very much for joining us. That's Professional Services Growth Live. You can check out our blog.passle.net for the next episode and for shorter pieces of this episode, and we'll also be publishing on YouTube. But thanks very much for joining us. Thank you again to our guests, James and Stephanie, and it's been great having you.
Thanks a lot.